Outbreak of a disease. The unusual occurrence in a community or region of a disease, specific health related problems, for example, smoking, or health related events, for example, traffic accident, in excess of expected occurrence. For example, in US, the diseases such as cholera is not usually normally present among the people population. Therefore, even one case of cholera would constitute a potential epidemic in the US. But in the country but in the country like India, Bangladesh and Nepal, where some cases of cholera is usually present among some group of people, a few hundred cases per year may be the usual or expected incidence. Epidemic situation. Objectives of the investigation of an epidemic outbreak is given below. Objectives of the investigation of an epidemic outbreak is given below. To define the magnitude of an epidemic outbreak and involvement in terms of time, place and person. To determine the particular conditions and factors responsible for the occurrence of the epidemic. To identify the cause, source of infection, mode of transmission. To determine the measures necessary to control the epidemic. To make recommendations to prevent reoccurrence. Procedures of investigation of an epidemic outbreak is given below. Verification of diagnosis. Verification of diagnosis is the first step in an epidemic investigation, as it may happen sometimes that the report may arise from misinterpretation of signs and symptoms by the lay people non-expert in the particular field. It is therefore necessary to have verification of diagnosis as quickly as possible. Confirmation of the existence of an epidemic. The next step is to confirm if epidemic exists. This can be done by comparing disease frequencies during the same period of previous years, defining population at risk, obtaining the map of the area. Before beginning the investigation, it is necessary to have the detailed and current map of the area. The map should contain the information concerning the natural landmarks, roads, location of all dwellings along each road or in isolated areas. Counting the population. Counting an appropriate denominator of population at a risk is necessary to calculate the attack rates for these populations. Census may be done in various groups and subgroups of a population or in a defined area by house-to-house visits. Rapid search for all cases and their characteristics. Medical survey. A medical survey should be carried out in the defined area to identify all cases, including those who have not. A medical service will be carried out. Lie anymore. A medical service will be carried out in the defined area to identify all cases, including those who have not looked for a medical care and those possibly exposed to risks. Epidemiological case sheet. Epidemiological case sheet. Epidemiologists should be armed with an epidemiological case sheet. Epidemiological case sheet should be carefully designed to collect relevant information. This include name, age, sex, occupation, sign and symptoms of illness, history of previous exposure, time of onset of a disease, personal contact at home, school, workplaces and other places. Searching for more cases. The patient may be asked if he knew other more cases at home, schools, workplaces and other places, neighborhood and other places. Data analysis. Data collected should be analyzed using classical epidemiological parameters like time, place and person. Time relationship in exposure to the suspected source, whether it is a common source or propagated epidemic, whether it is a seasonal or cyclic pattern suggestive of a particular infection. Place. Preparing a spot map of geographical distribution of cases and if possible their relation to the possible source of infection, and its analysis may provide the evidence of the source of the disease and the mode of transmission. Person. Analyze the data by age, sex, occupation and other possible risk factors. Formulation of hypothesis. On the basis of time, place and person distributions, formulate hypothesis to explain epidemic in terms of possible source, causative agent, possible methods of spread, and the environmental factors that may enable it to occur. Testing of hypothesis. Analytical studies such as case control and cohort group control are carried out and data are analyzed using statistical tests. Epidemiological findings will be confirmed by the lab test of blood, faces, suspected food, etc. Evaluation of ecological factors. Ecological factors which have made the epidemic possible should be investigated, such as the sanitary status of water, milk supply, breakdown of water supply system, movements of human population, population dynamics of insects and animal reservoirs. Further investigation of population at risk. A study of population at risk or a sample of it may be further investigation of population at risk. A study of population at risk or a sample of it may be needed to obtain the additional information. This may include medical examination, screening test, examination of samples of blood, faces, suspected food, biochemical studies, assessment of immune status, etc. Biochemical studies, assessment of immune status, etc. Biochemical studies, assessment of immune status, etc. Writing the report. A final report with a discussion of factors leading to the epidemic, recommendation for control and prevention of similar diseases in the future, and evaluation of the measures used for the control of the epidemics will be prepared. For example, at a community or village level, very small presentation need to be given to brief the community about the case of the outbreak. At a district level, more technical reports needs to be submitted, scientific papers needs to be written in order to publish in the scientific journals.